Welcome to this week's episode of Coffee with the Journalist, brought to you by One Pitch. The guests on our show include some of the most notable journalists from the top US-based publications who cover topics including technology, lifestyle and culture, health, science, consumer products, and business news. We discuss their role, the types of stories they cover, what their inbox looks like, and how they connect with sources. Today, we're sitting down with Sandra Gutierrez, a DIY assistant editor for Popular Science. Sandra began her career at Rolling Stone Chile as a reporter-writer, and prior to Popular Science, Sandra was an in-house PR executive at Google. During today's episode, Sandra shares more about her obsession with keeping her inbox organized, her past experience as a PR professional and how that ties into her current role, the concept of the DIY team and how they craft stories, and more. Let's hear from Sandra now.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Coffee with the Journalist. I'm not drinking coffee, but I'm drinking some sparkling water here today. I'm Beck Bamberger. You guys have heard me here. Founder over at BAM, which is an agency that works with all these crazy startups. And then also One Pitch, which is the producer of this show. And as you guys also heard today, very exciting. And we just talked about Chile for the last, 10 minutes. Sandra Gutierrez. She's the DIY assistant editor over at PopSci, also known Popular Science. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me
here. Tell us, are you drinking coffee? What are you doing?
I am not, because I do not drink coffee. I drink tea.
There you go.
I'm currently having a very large mug of green tea. That's my jam. I actually decided I was going to quit coffee when I was like 17, because I just thought that if I was going to go into coffee, I just want to go like big into coffee, and that wrecked my guts basically.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I've been doing green tea for years now. It really works for me, though. I have to say, sometimes if I have like a rough night, if I can't like go to sleep early enough, I'm a very big sleeper in that regard. I do need sometimes a cup of coffee, because you need sometimes a little bit of help.
Oh, fascinating. So you tried it, but it couldn't, your gut just couldn't take it.
I mean, the thing is, like, I have family in Italy, and they passed down kind of like the tradition of having like the mocha machine, you know, the very heavy kind of Italian coffee. And that's what we had.
Sounds delicious.
It is delicious, yes. And that's what we had at my parents' house when I was growing up there. And when I was 16, 17, like, I really liked that kind of coffee. But whenever I went to school, I was like putting 2 or 3 cups of that very heavy coffee into my tumbler and just going to class like that. And I mean, good coffee is good coffee, but like, if you drink too much of it, your body is going to resent it. So yeah, so I just switched to green tea. Mint green tea is my favorite. I recommend you do it. It's amazing.
Excellent. I'm going to add that to my list. Well, Sandra, first tell us about your inbox. How crazy is it in there? Do you get a lot of pitches, etc.?
I do get a lot of pitches, but it's not as crazy as it should be. So do with this information what you want. But I am a person whose moon and sun is in Virgo. So I don't know if that says anything to you. I'm kind of controlling. I'm like, I need to have my space very neat and tidied, and my inbox is no exception. I am a zero inbox kind of person.
Ooh.
I do not deal well with those red dots on the screen of my smartphone. Like, I just have to get rid of those, or it'll drive me crazy. So yeah, I kind of do every morning. I kind of do like a big filter of things that I don't need to read. Most of those are not pitches. Mostly they're like newsletters and press release that I absolutely know that have nothing to do with whatever I do. And then I go into kind of like, okay, opening some email saying like this, okay, I'll snooze this, I'll keep this. And then I just go over and over it until like I, take it back to zero. That's how I am.
Oh, and so, okay, get it now. Are we talking unread zero inbox? Or are we talking,
Yeah, unread zero. I feel like visually just the very empty inbox is just not for me, but I need to have it all unread. Right now, if I'm going to check. Right now, I just have 3 emails unread. Which,
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm proud of that.
That's amazing.
I know. It's an obsession of mine.
Clearly. Oh my gosh. Okay. So then pitches that you receive, are you responding to each one? Are you filing them away? Are you just mass deleting? How are we doing on that?
So you may not know this about me, but I actually spent 3 years working as a PR person.
Yeah,
so
you were on the other side.
I was on the other side. Yes. I wasn't behind enemy lines. So I do have a very deep knowledge of what it entails to send a pitch, to be following up with lots of journalists, and basically all the effort that takes to build those relationships with journalists. So I am very appreciative of the work of PR people. So I try as much as I can to respond to every email, even if it's just with like a thank you for reaching out. It's not for me. Best of luck. Bye. But I try to do it as much as I can. Some of them I will definitely not even skim because I'm like, this is just not for me. This is just like a press release copied into the body of an email. This person didn't even bother writing my name in the first line. So I'm like, okay, bye.
Oh gosh.
So yeah, but like most of the time I do get, I'm not gonna say like specialized email, but basically email that was sent to me particularly, specifically. And that's the kind of thing most of the times I do read it and I'm mostly good at responding.
That is fantastic to know. We definitely don't see that across the board here. So, glad to hear it.
Yeah, I mean, when you get the taste of working in PR, I guess that you're more appreciative of that. Because I've had this conversation with other workmates of mine and they're like, oh no, like I'm just mass delete emails. And I get that.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean,
they do.
But when you've been on the other side and you've been kind of like sometimes even biting your nails thinking like, I need a response from this journalist, you kind of have like a strategic plan of where you want your client to be. And sometimes having journalists not respond to you can be very stressful. So I'm like, if I have to pass, I mean, the time it takes me to say like, thank you for reaching out. It's not for me. Bye. It's not that much. So, and Gmail has like this autocomplete feature. So it takes you even less time.
It is so lovely, that feature. I'm like, Google, go.
I know.
Even going greater. Okay. So for the stories you do, like this recent one you did on how to make oat milk with science, by the way, you're a pill away from the perfect oat milk is the subtitle, which I'm like, I haven't read the whole thing. I need to. Okay. How do you think of the stories you want to do?
Well, first of all, I think that just coming up with the ideas of what to write about, I feel like that is, if not the biggest part of writing a story, it's like the most difficult part, at least for me. I struggle with that on the daily. And sometimes I will have Post-its full with ideas that I haven't gone around to do. And sometimes my editor would be like, so what are you writing this week? And I would like, can you just give me like a couple of hours to figure it out? It comes and goes. But most of the time, it's just being very aware of your inner babbling of whatever it is that you're thinking. Sometimes you're riding the subway and you're just wondering things. You see an ad, you see someone, you say like, oh, I wonder about blah, blah, blah. And it's really weird because like those are the kinds of ideas that sometimes can be turned into stories. And I've had to learn the skill of being very aware of that kind of inner train of thought. And it's really also very interesting because John Kennedy, who is the DIY editor at PopSci, we have like this really cool relationship and both of us are really versed in internet lingo. So we communicate a lot through GIFs and memes. And
I love it. How fun is your Slack?
I know. I don't know if you ever seen this meme of this like anime guy with like a butterfly and says like, is this like, you can fill in the blanks, of course, but we have like a version of that is like, is this content? So I would come up with an idea and kind of like run it by John. And I'd be like, John, is this content? And sometimes I would even make the meme for him and we would just laugh. I mean, I have meme generator in my bookmarks.
Oh my God. I love it. Wow. You are on top of it. Okay. So it doesn't sound like you have a special place or routine, like, oh, I do my evening walks and that's where I brainstorm.
Yeah, it keeps coming. I try to be organized in terms of like remembering to write down those ideas, because sometimes I'll be like just thinking about it and I'll be like, oh my God, this could be a great story. And then like a fleeting moment would go by and I'm like, okay, now it's gone. So I have to be very careful about writing those ideas down and kind of like distill them into actual stories. Whenever I don't have like a backlog of ideas to fall back on, I try to just browse through the internet. I feel like surfing the internet and surfing Twitter and kind of just like, I don't know, sometimes that works. Even like sometimes I even go to Tumblr, just like scrolling away, trying to see if something clicks.
Even Tumblr. Wow.
Yeah. I'm a big believer in Tumblr. Like I know that it's not a cool place to be at right now on the internet, but I love Tumblr and TikTok. I mean, oh my God. I partially live on TikTok. I could buy a beach house on TikTok. Yes.
I could buy a beach house.
No, I mean, yes, second home, TikTok, I'm down. Yes.
It keeps you going. That's the thing. They've really figured out how to like keep teeing you up with stuff. Okay, but here's a question. Do you ever get pitches that convert to stories?
Yes, I do. So both from writers and also from PR people. Most of the time, though, I feel like I've had this experience. So I hope I'm not. I mean, I hope this doesn't happen to a lot of people. But I feel like most of the time, people who pitch me, especially from PR agencies, kind of like don't fully understand what we do at DIY. And I'm not even talking about like what I do as a journalist, because DIY is especially how we treat it at PopSci, DIY is a very tricky concept. DIY in popular science is this very kind of magical, weird place in which service journalism meets science, meets projects, meets cool, and sometimes just weird stuff, right? And I feel like that is a concept that is not that easy to grasp. So in my experience, most of the times whenever a pitch doesn't work for me, it's mostly because people just haven't spent enough time reading our stories and going through our sections and trying to figure out what we do. Which is why whenever I do get a pitch from someone who has done their due diligence and done all that work, I'm like, oh my God, I love you. I don't even care about your idea. Let's just work together.
Well, and also I have to say, Sandra, your stuff is so broad. I mean,
Yes.
Here's a complete guide on how to safely take, send, and store nudes. Okay.
I am so proud of that one. You can't even know. You don't even know.
How to carry just about anything on your bike. I mean, there's a lot of practical stuff here.
Yeah. And well, those
Clean
are
your jewelry with science, your old tea and coffee stains off your mugs. I mean, you must be quite the expert on all types of things now.
I mean, those are the kind of things that I just wonder. I mean, the whole idea about the mug stains, for instance, it was because I drink a lot of tea, and like sometimes I go to friends' houses and they're like, do you want a cup of tea? And I look at their mugs and I'm like, oh my God, no, thank you. Like, can you just give me a little bit of bleach because like you're just not taking care of your...
Read my article.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So yeah, it's really broad. And that's why I think it's really hard sometimes for people to grasp what we do. And it's fine. Like, I don't expect everyone to know exactly what we do, because to be totally honest with you, sometimes I even have a hard time with some stories, with some ideas to see, is this story a popular science DIY story? And this is why we got that meme with John, like, is this content or not? Like, we have that discussion on the daily with different ideas. So again, I don't blame people who don't do it, but I would very much appreciate, or I just appreciate when people are just asking questions. So if you're pitching something to me and you're not entirely sure this falls into the kind of thing that we do, I really appreciate it when people say, you know what, I've seen this story and this other story that you've covered in the past whatever months, and I think this could be good for you. I'm not entirely sure. Do you care to give me your feedback? Like, is this something that you could go for? I usually, whenever I get that kind of email, I will usually take the time to just say, you know what, like, yes, you're on the right track, but maybe we could take it from this other perspective and this angle. We could just tweak it and spin it. I don't know. But yeah, I feel like the interest in just knowing what we do is what makes me appreciate a pitch.
So cool you come from the other side too, to kind of understand that and understand the thrill of getting a response from a media person, even when it's sometimes not the response you want, but at least you got a response. So that's good.
Yeah. I feel it's just easier to move on.
Yes, exactly.
When I was working in PR, I would just really hate it when I had my communications plan kind of laid out in front of me and I just couldn't go to the next stage because I just didn't receive a response. And like, it's really hard sometimes to reach out to people and say like, hey, did you just read my email? And sometimes I'll be like, yes. And most people say like, no response is enough of a response in my honest opinion. And I may be alone in this, but I don't think it is. I appreciate it even when people were like, thank you, no, bye, which is kind of like not very polite kind of email, but at the same time, it's just a response. And that just allows me to go on and go to the next stage, go to my other alternative in my communications plans. It's just about being a good human being and making people's lives easier. It's not hard to do.
It's not hard to do, Sandra. Exactly. Okay. We have a little fill in the blank part. And
Oh my God.
I'm going to tee it up and then you give me your answer. So, okay. First one. My favorite sources always.
Have read what I've written, know what I do.
The most annoying sources always.
Follow up 3 or 4 times, even after I haven't responded. And this is kind of like an exception to what I was talking about before, because of course I'm human. Sometimes things get lost in my inbox and sometimes I don't respond to people. And most of the time I will respond to a follow-up. But when things just get caught in the web and I haven't responded to you like 3 or 4 times, let it go. Come on.
Exactly. 3 or 4. Oof.
Yeah.
Okay. That's it actually. Okay. You'll get a response from me if
99% of the time, I think. It's not even an if. You're just going to get a response.
That's amazing. Sandra, I'm going to send you an email, like just to see that you respond. This fantastic. I think if we had to have like awards, like who responds the most, you'd be. Oh, maybe that's an idea for us.
It could be a whole rubric. I mean, it may take a while because sometimes I get caught up in things. I mean, to be totally honest with you, in the afternoons, I'm just so deep into work that my email is just priority number 18 on my list. So sometimes if you write to me like at 3 or 4 or whatever, like maybe I'm just very caught up in writing or editing and I'm not gonna check my inbox at that moment. But if it takes 48 hours or 3 days or whatever, most of the time I will respond to you. If, however, you insert a meme into your email, I will most definitely get back to you. It has to be a good one though.
Has to be a good one. Make it quality. Make it a quality one. Excellent.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Okay. It would be a huge help if you
just be concise. I've had people try to be kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not funny, but kind of like cheeky sometimes, kind of like laying out a scene before they even pitch me. Like, hi, Sandra, has it ever happened to you that blah, 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 blah? And I'm like, man, like you're gonna make me read like 2 paragraphs of your makeup scene and then I'm gonna get the pitch. Like sometimes that works. I won't lie to you, but most of the times it has to be done in a very kind of specific way. So just being concise and make it easier for me to say like, oh, this is the kind of thing that even if the pitch is not exactly right, maybe we could spin it around, or this is just exactly what I don't need. So I just can go on with my day.
Mm-hmm. The best compliment I ever received about my work was.
Oh my God. Okay. I had to write this down. I wrote this question down from the episodes that I had read because recently I got this, this comment from one of our readers on the oat milk story. And it was so nice because it actually sounds like a review from Variety on a movie or something like that. So this is like quote, right? It says the wit, the humor, the information, so concise, so fun, so useful and on the spot. And I'm like, okay, I don't need anything else in my life.
5-star Rotten Tomatoes.
Exactly. That's exactly. When John shared this with me, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I love this. I'm going to put this down on my resume, on my Twitter profile. I'm going to share with my mom. It's amazing.
Oh, that is joyous. Nothing like getting a good heartfelt compliment.
Today's interview will continue after this brief message brought to you by OnePitch. Are you curious to see the unique ways OnePitch helps PR professionals and marketers pitch journalists? Head to onepitch.co to learn about our new OnePitch score and see how easy it is to find the right journalist to pitch your news to. Sign up for your free account today. Now, back to today's episode.
Okay, my favorite stories to write about are...
Oh, okay. My favorite stories to write about are the ones that are surprisingly complicated, but at the same time have like this element of wonder. And I know that is a very convoluted answer to a very simple question, but when you work in science journalism, sometimes you would go into a story and you just don't realize what you're getting into until you actually do some little bit of digging and some research and you talk to an actual researcher. And then you're like, oh my God, this story entails me understanding the principles of thermodynamics, and I absolutely don't know nothing about that. And sometimes that can be a little bit intimidating, but at the same time, it's really fun. It allows you the privilege, and I really do appreciate this about my own job. It allows you the privilege to pick up the phone, call like a top scientist of the world, a person who has been studying something for most of their lives, and you're just like, I just want to understand how bread is made. Could you just explain it to me like I'm 5? And most of the time, people are just, they love to explain those things to you. And it's a very humbling position, but at the same time, it's joyous because you learn. And I mean, I really sound like a nerd about it, but I am really amazed by science all of the time, and it's all around us. And sometimes when you just look at the things that you deal with on a day-to-day basis, and you understand a little bit about what's the science behind them, and not only like your technology, but I mean, how you clean your silver jewelry, or how you take, what are those little stains in your mugs or whatever. It's really cool. I don't know. I just think it's so amazingly cool. And that is my job. I mean, I just feel like I'm very lucky.
That is great. The one thing I think people should know more about is, besides obviously sending you a good, high quality meme.
Right. Well, I am obsessed with pop culture. So I always try to plug pop culture references into my stories. Not all of them make it into the final copy, but I mean, pop culture is the reason why I became a journalist in the first place. So I am obsessed with that. Any pop culture reference that you can plug into an email, like that will make me smile, and making someone smile, it's always a good way to start a relationship, even if it's just through email. I don't guarantee that a good pop culture reference will get your pitch in, but it will certainly get you a response and like an emoji. So, I mean, that's good for everyone, right?
It is. What about the last best thing I ate or cooked was?
Okay, so the last thing I cooked, and it's just sitting beside me uneaten, is like basmati rice with like some ground beef and caramelized onions. It's not the fanciest thing, but it's what I had. But I feel like the last good thing I had is like a grilled cheese sandwich. I just love grilled cheese sandwiches. They're so perfect and simple.
Oh, that sounds so good.
I know, right?
Oh, I kind of want one. Okay. Quarantine has taught me
I am way more resilient than I thought I was.
Mm-hmm. And how about my perfect Sunday is?
Long, very long. Do you ever get the Sunday blues, like Sunday evening, like around 7 or 8, and you're kind of like trying to mentalize, like put your mindset into like, I have to work tomorrow, the weekend is over. And in all that mindsetting, I just go a little bit blue, and I'm like, oh my God, I have to go to work tomorrow, which again, like I was just raving about how much I love my work, and now I'm telling you I'm depressed on Sunday night. I mean, I know the dichotomy there, but it's different. But whenever I get to that point and I look back and say, oh, this has actually been A, productive day, or B, a very fun day. Like I'm just, you know what? Like this has been great. This has been like a Sunday worthy of the name.
I think we can all relate to that. Even like me, I own where I work. Like I've selected every single person here. Still, it can be a lot.
I know. Yeah. Like it's a reality, and it's just kind of like doing it all over again. And exactly. It's okay. I think it's absolutely okay. And especially in quarantine, I feel like we've lost our sense of time and routine. Like everything is routine, right? So just having a weekend, it's just so valuable. And when that ends, it's kind of like, a bummer.
I know. Nothing's more joyous though than the Monday off when okay, Memorial Day. Okay, great. Because then your Sunday is like the Saturday. Oh, it's so good. I
know. And especially when you like don't actually register it in your mind and you're like surprised with that. I mean, the few times that that's happened to me is like finding $20 in an old coat. Yep. Like it's the same feeling.
It's just joy. Pure
exactly.
joy.
Yes.
Okay, well, Sandra, we love to know what you are reading, listening to, consuming, watching. We'll take anything. So what you got?
So I made it a habit of mine to read two books at the same time. And always one of them is going to be nonfiction and the other one is going to be fiction.
Okay.
So right now, my fiction book is Dune by Frank Herbert, like the classic Dune. Yeah, absolutely. I've never gotten around to read it. And now
It's a dense one.
It's dense and it's kind of slow. I mean, to be honest, like it takes like 100 pages for something to happen, which is kind of like, okay. Yeah. But it's such an interesting world construction, world building. And, the movie is coming out and I'm really excited about it. So I was just like, I need to read this book. So that's what I'm doing. To be completely honest with you, if it's taken me a long time, I've not picked it up in a while, but it's there. It's in my nightstand. It's going to be read eventually. And my nonfiction book right now is actually a journalistic investigation by Chilean journalist Juan Cristobal Peña. It's called Los Fusileros. And it's a really interesting investigation he did about the story of the armed branch of the Chilean Communist Party in the 80s. It was called the Frente Patriótico Manuel Rodríguez, and how they planned an assassination attempt against the dictator Augusto Pinochet, and how they failed and how they tried over and over again. And it's just this very interesting chapter of Chilean history and just the way in which Juan Cristobal goes about it, and the depth of that investigation is amazing. So I'm not entirely sure this book is translated into English, but if it is, I totally recommend people reading it, because it's not only like an historic investigation, but it's also like a very interesting human story on how people just choose to put their lives on the line for things they believe, and even when that entails losing their family and losing just whatever we call like a normal life. So it's very interesting and very refreshing.
Nice. What's it called?
Los Fusileros.
Okay. I don't know if that's on Audible. I'm looking. I don't see it yet.
I think it's in Amazon, but I don't know if it's translated into English, but like if you speak Spanish, then you absolutely need to read it.
Excellent. Okay, that was helpful. What do you think is the future of journalism?
Oh gosh, that is a heavy question. I am very hopeful of the future of journalism, especially for science journalism. I think what the pandemic has taught us all is how important science is in our lives, and how understanding it and getting informed about it just affects our day-to-day. Like, it's not something that crazy people in lab coats are doing somewhere, or it's not something that only people with like 100 degrees can understand, like academic degrees can understand. So I feel like there is so much more space right now to be a science journalist. And I'm just so proud that I got to live through this. It's awful. Living through a pandemic has not been easy for anyone. But I mean, if there was a time to be a science journalist, it was this one. And I'm just feel very lucky to have had the opportunity to write the stories that I wrote. On the other hand, and this is more like a general take on journalism, I am worried of individual journalists, like in like kind of like a personal level. I feel like the ongoing battle between the business side of media and the quality and the, investigative journalism, the quality of the stories that we read, it's always been a very tense front. And I feel like a lot of people have understood that quality stories or quality journalism entails maybe even creating your own media outlet, your own newsletter, your own website, and having platforms such as Patreon giving you that direct link between your audience and what you're writing. And I think that's very interesting. I feel like it's amazing. And the people who are doing it are just creating this very amazing curated content that appeals to maybe not everyone, but like the people that appeals to that kind of content. It's just amazing. I'm just really worried about what will that look like in the future in terms of job security, in terms of benefits, in terms of like how these people are going to be able to sustain themselves in this model. I don't know how that is going to work, but I really hope that we figure it out.
Much to be figured out still on
Absolutely.
that front. Do you, Sandra, just looking back at your history, and you came from, you were once at Rolling Stone, you were at MSN, you were doing all types of stuff. You had a science journalism background, but then you got the journalism background. Would you do it again?
I would do it again. Maybe I would change some stuff, but not many. I had my day in the sun with Rolling Stone when I was fresh out of college. I mean, I cannot
my day in the sun.
It was just so much fun. You cannot even imagine.
Oh my gosh.
It was very fun. I was going to shows. People were paying me to like review albums and like watch movies. And I was like, okay, this is amazing. This is the dream. So I had that coming for me. I learned a lot working in PR, and it was amazing. Not only at like a personal level of how flexible I can be as a professional and how fast I can learn, but also how you can understand that sometimes, like a circle comes to an end. Like you come full circle with some things. That's what I mean. So I think I've had a very interesting trajectory in journalism. I have absolutely no idea what the future has for me, but I'm just having a lot of fun. And I don't know, we'll see what happens to me in the next 5 years. I don't know.
We'll see. Okay, well now, Sandra, we've come to probably the most fun time of this whole chat, which is our Mad Libs. And I know you are ready. I know you did your homework. So let's see what we get here. And we'll see. Okay, so I'm going to give you the word and then you give me your response and then we will read it back. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay.
I was born ready.
I love it. First thing is an emotion.
Perplexity.
Oh, an adjective.
Pretty.
Okay, another adjective.
Lonely.
A greeting, any type of greeting.
Hi, comma, blank.
Hi, comma, blank. Oh, God. Yeah, someone forgot to fill that in. Okay.
Oh, my God, so many people.
A verb.
Run.
A noun.
A car.
Another adjective.
I'm going to think about this one. An adjective. Convoluted. I really like that word.
I do like that word. It's a good one. A cringeworthy PR term or phrase.
Oh, just any iteration of innovation. I hate it.
A part of a pitch.
Oh, the scene at the beginning.
The scene?
Yeah, like the scene, like whenever they're like, have you ever noticed when this happens, blah, 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 blah.
Have you ever? Okay, yeah.
Exactly. The have you ever.
Have you evers, yeah. Okay. An amount of time.
Is it an eon, like a singular thing? Okay, so an eon.
Eon. What is an eon? What is that?
I mean, I know that people say
indefinite
eon.
And very long period of time.
Yes.
Often a period exaggerated for humorous or rhetorical effect. That's perfect for this situation here. Okay, perfect. An eon. Okay, a person who ideally is alive.
Oh, okay. I'm not even going to go with one person. I'm going to go with an entity. I'm going to go with Bennifer, with Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck. We're back at it again. I am in denial. But Bennifer, yes, I'm going to go with that.
Okay. Wait a second. We have to have a dovetail about that. So how orchestrated do you think that is?
I don't know. I'm just in denial. I just cannot believe that. I mean, first they took away my skinny jeans and now we're going back to bell bottoms and now Bennifer is back. We're talking about Britney Spears again. So I don't know.
What is happening?
I don't know what is happening. I mean, the other day I was having this conversation with friends in a group chat. And so one of them was like, you know what? Do you know how sometimes you just go back to your ex to just have a good time? Maybe that's what it is. And I'm like, if that is the case, then good for her. Dude, like have a great time, have a blast, amazing. Yes, absolutely. I wish all the best to Jennifer Lopez, but I don't know. Sometimes going back to your ex is not the soundest idea. So I'm just crossing my fingers and hoping that this is all for the best.
Mm-hmm. I just always wonder from like, again, PR perspective of how orchestrated is it? It has to be. I mean, this is a very savvy woman.
Oh,
I don't know
for
about
sure.
Ben. I don't know him, not like I know Jennifer Lopez, but
Right.
that is a media maven who knows what the heck's happening. So I just wonder where they're like, okay, well, we're going to go out to dinner here and make sure we got this and make sure you tip off the paparazzi. I mean, you have to be aware. You have to.
But at the same time, you kind of wonder. So my first question is always like, what is she gaining out of all of this? I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
J-Lo is big enough as it is. Like, she doesn't need to go back to Ben Affleck.
Exactly true.
I feel Ben Affleck needs her more than she needs him. So, like, how does this make sense? I don't know. Maybe we'll see. Maybe this is, we'll see the result of this. Yes. Maybe it's a strategy and we're just not even like, we haven't even seen half of it.
Wow. Okay. All right. That was our concluding conversation. All right. Last thing. What's an emotion?
Thrilled.
Ooh, that's a great one. Okay, here we go from the top, Sandra. When I think of the future of journalism, I feel perplexed. The pitches I receive have gone from pretty to lonely. If I receive a pitch that starts with hi, comma, blank, I run. When I write stories on cars, I get a little convoluted. My favorite pitches include innovation and are very specific with the have you ever ... I normally take an eon to respond to my emails, but if it's Bennifer, I will respond immediately. If you do get a response from me, you should know I am very thrilled for you.
I mean, if Bennifer,
I love this one.
If Bennifer reached out to me, I would say, where do I sign? I mean, what story do you want me to write for you? I would definitely be, yes, on board.
Yeah, I feel the same. I love it. Oh, Sandra, this has been such a delight.
I've had a great time.
I'm so happy you've been here and joined us. And you just keep drinking that tea and cleaning those cups out. And I can't wait to see the next piece. Maybe it's going to be on almond milk. I don't even know, but I can't wait.
You know what? I don't either, but I can wait too.
And I will be teeing up the emojis. Or memes, not emojis.
Memes,
but maybe memes and emojis. Okay, maybe.
I mean, yeah, GIFs, emojis, anything. I'll fall for it, absolutely. But thank you so much for having me. I had a blast. So great.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Coffee with the Journalist featuring Sandra Gutierrez from Popular Science. If you enjoy listening to our show, make sure to subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and anywhere else you listen to podcasts. And if you have a moment, please leave us a review to share your thoughts about the show and today's guest. To learn more about the latest tools on OnePitch and to subscribe to our weekly podcast newsletter, head to our website at onepitch.co. We'll see you all next week with a brand new guest and even more insights about the journalists you want to learn more about. Until then, start great stories.